Tonight we greet you from Tropicana Field. The Rays are happy to be home. They will open a 6-game stand against Oakland and New York. The first series, 3 games. Tonight, game 1. Hi again, everyone. Welcome to an evening of Rays baseball with Brian Anderson. I'm Dwayne Stats. Good to have you looking in. We'll be hearing from Todd Callis in just a few moments. Well, it only seemed longer than 3 cities, 9 games, 2-7. But in Baltimore, there was perhaps a silver lining to that black cloud. And the silver lining would be the offense showing signs of life.
It's starting to come to life. You're absolutely right, Dwayne. And you look what they did in that 3-game series. They scored 16 runs, so they got to that magic number of averaging 5 runs a game, and most of the damage was via the long ball. 9 home runs in those 3 games. They came into that series with just 5 on the season, and yet 2 the first night, 3 the next night, and 4 last night. Ends up with 9 home runs. Hopefully, that's something that they can continue. They're going to have to when you look at what's across the way, because while the Rays have heated up over the last 3 games, the Oakland A's have been scorching from day 1. 96 runs, that leads Major League Baseball, 20 more than the next closest American League team, and they're getting production from all over the lineup, from the top, from the bottom. They'll show you speed, they work at bats, and right now they are swinging the bats with a lot of confidence, so the Rays had better bring their sticks again tonight.
Yeah, there's 20 home runs for Oakland, second in the American League, and Coco Crisp has 4 of them. He's working on an 11-game hitting streak coming in to this series. He's no longer just a breakfast cereal. Coming up tonight, Alex Cobb is on the hill for the Rays, and we'll take a look at that weapon, the breaking ball that he has broken out. Todd Callis takes care of that.
Let's get ready to kick off a three-game series. It looks like James Loney, who's not in the lineup tonight, will be handing out the lineup cards at home plate as the Rays try and rebound after a difficult 2-7 road trip. Tonight, Alex Cobb on the mound for Tampa Bay. Last year, James Shields was an influence in teaching Cobb a new way to throw his breaking ball. And Cobb's really used that curveball a lot more in the past, really 2 months of the last season into this year. You see the curveball here. He throws a little harder than his old conventional one and with better depth. And here's him describing the pitch.
Conventionally growing up, I'd throw 2 fingers on there like that. Pretty much the whole staff last year was throwing a spike curveball. Shields kind of showed us how to throw it. Just brought it up top, keeps tighter spin, more of a 4-seam rotation, so it's harder to pick up. I've also gained a few miles per hour on it, so it's been a huge help this year.
Cobb said he added about 3 or 4 miles per hour to that new curveball based on the way he used to throw it conventionally. And he's throwing it almost 25% of the time this year compared to less than 20% last season. Guess what? It's baseball time. A's and Rays right around the corner. Enjoy all the action on Sun Sports.
Filled with frustration, capped by Matt Wieters' 10th inning walk-off grand slam last night. Tonight, the Rays return home to the friendly confines of Tropicana Field, hoping that right-hander Alex Cobb can get Tampa Bay back on the winning track. And so we welcome you inside Tropicana Field, where the Rays look to turn things around. They'll take on the tough Oakland A's. Oakland with the best record in the American League, coming in with a mark of 12-4. Second in the major leagues only to the Atlanta Braves, who start the day 13-2. 3 games against Oakland. And tonight, Alex Cobb and Brett Anderson will square off. Lineups being exchanged at home plate. And a review of the ground rules before we get into tonight's action. Rays will have a night game tomorrow beginning at 7:10 against Oakland. Jeremy Hellickson will make the start for the Rays, and then Roberto Hernandez will pitch the Sunday afternoon game. That begins at 1:40 before New York comes in. The Yankees starting with a night game on Monday. Take a look at the starting lineup. For the Oakland Ball Club, Coco Crisp leads it off. John Jaso, the former Ray, hits second. He'll catch. Seth Smith is the designated hitter. He is hot. Jed Lowry, the cleanup man at shortstop. Brandon Moss at first. Chris Young over from Arizona plays left field tonight. Josh Reddick is in right. Josh Donaldson at third, and Eric Sogard at second base will bat ninth. Bob Melvin there, along with his hitting coach, Chili Davis. Well, Melvin, a great job last year. Manager of the year. And the way they're scoring runs, Chili Davis might be the hitting coach of the year. He's certainly the early leader, because this team has been red hot. Not only are they hitting, but they're hitting with power.
Hitting with power, showing patience at the plate. They've got speed on the base paths. They have it all clicking right now. The man who's going to be put in charge and trying to stem that tide is going to be right-hander Alex Cobb, making his third start of the season. The numbers very good. 14 innings, averaging 7 per, ERA of 1.93, 12 strikeouts. This will be an interesting matchup to watch. Alex Cobb with that good changeup, the fastball, and that improving curveball going up against the lineup. And here will be the defense as it lines up behind Alex. In the outfield, left to right, Kelly Johnson, Desmond Jennings, and Ben Zobrist. Across the infield, third to first, Evan Longoria, Yanel Escobar, Ryan Roberts, and Sean Rodriguez. Jose Lobaton behind the plate.
Joe Madden's club 5-10 to start the year. And Joe continues to look ahead. Rays have had that 30-minute rule to either mourn or celebrate the game just completed.
I'm sure a couple of times here in the early going that's been tested.
I think it's been extended a few minutes. At least a quarter of an hour, maybe all the way up to a full hour. But that's all water under the bridge, and the first pitch of this game about to be made. Alex Cobb to Coco Crisp, and it's lined up the right field side, back toward the corner. Zobrist will play the carom, and on the first pitch of the game, Crisp extends his hitting streak to 12. That first pitch presented by Pinch-A-Penny.
Wasting no time, Coco Crisp. We talk about this Oakland lineup and the fact that they work counts, see the most pitches per plate appearance in baseball, but Crisp right there, a fastball, they're trying to go in, first pitch, that leaks out over the plate. Very little stride, but extremely quick hands, and he's on second base.
Crisp has already scored 16 runs this year and is in scoring position now for the former Ray, John Jaso. Pitch a little wide to Jaso. John obviously on a high protein diet.
Most of their team is. Goodness. I sit up here only wishing.
The A's swept a 3-game series from Houston to start the week. 2-0. Done most of their schedule inside the AL West. They start the day 2.5 up on Texas. 13 of their games inside their own division, and they are 11-2 there. That's a strike. Alex Cobb finds the zone to go 2-1 to Jaso.
You know, Jaso's not the type of hitter you would think of being up at the top of the order in that number 2 hole, but you'll remember that there was a time here when he was a Ray that Joe Madden would have him hit leadoff because of very good on-base percentage, has a really nice idea of the strike zone, pretty good discipline inside of it.
And now he's ahead of Cobb, 3-1. Well, Oakland last year, what a stretch drive they had. They went 33-13 and wound up winning the AL West. That's a strike. Jaso trying to coax the walk.
I think Jaso had a better idea of the strike zone there than home plate umpire Corey Blazer. That ball looked to be off the plate. It was close. That definitely, yeah, that ball's well off.
So the count is full. Lets it toward right center. Zobrist on the run, up with the glove, and he makes the catch. Great catch by Zobrist. Crisp advances to third, tagging after the grab. Boy, that is some catch by Zobrist out there in right center to rob Jaso of an extra base hit.
Well, if his left side wasn't stretched out before, it certainly is now, because he needed every bit of that reach going away. A very difficult play and completely changing the dynamic of this inning. That would have scored Crisp, and who knows, Jaso, maybe a double for sure, maybe a triple. Outstanding.
Seth Smith. About those numbers, 447 for Smith.
Great.
1-0 the count. Here's another look.
Making a bid, and watch Ben Zobrist on his horse. Good route. And he needed to be efficient. And the Rays here too, they bring the infield in. First inning, 1 out. See everybody nice and tight. Alex Cobb, very adept at getting the ground ball.
2-0 count. Rays have had a tough time with Oakland here at the Trop the last couple years. Cobb is way behind Smith. The A's are 6-3 against the Rays here the last couple seasons. And they are threatening in the first inning of this game. And that fastball way up and away for ball 4.
Alex Cobb did not look comfortable once he fell behind Seth Smith, and that 447 average not going to give him into him. And what that will allow is, again, the ability to get the ground ball. The Rays middle infield, I'm assuming, is going to be back looking to maybe turn a double play here, and they have. That's what you're looking for from Jed Lowry.
And Lowry's another hot hitter. Playing shortstop and hitting cleanup. Which is a strike. It's been an issue for Cobb, who's made 12 pitches, and 7 of them have been out of the strike zone here in the first. And the first pitch caught too much of the strike zone and was ripped for a double up the right field line by Coco Crisp.
go back historically with Alex Cobb, and it's the first 45 pitches. Typically, if you're going to get Alex Cobb, you better get him early. You know, first 45 pitches of a ball game, career stats, teams hit 287 off of him. After that, 218. So once he gets into a good rhythm on the mound, starts to locate his pitches, he's very tough to beat, but sometimes it takes him some time. There's another good indicator there.
A line drive base hit center field. That will score crisp. Oakland breaks out in front 1-0. Smith stops at second. And Lowry just served that line drive into center, chasing home the run.
Well, that's one of those things that as Alex Cobb continues to mature as a pitcher, he's going to have to come up with a different plan getting ready for a ball game. That was not a terrible pitch right there. When you're talking about a hot hitter, and he doesn't try to do too much with it. Alex Cobb wants him to reach out there and try to pull that pitch, roll over it, then you get your chance for a double play. Lowry goes right with it, and it's an RBI single.
2 men on now with 1 out, and here's Brandon Moss, the first baseman. Well, you can see Cobb's mannerisms out there. He's just not comfortable on the hill.
That's exactly it. Trying to find that rhythm and that comfort.
Moss takes it the other way into left for a base hit. Smith will score. They're going to hold the runner at second, and now Ross overruns his route towards second and is going to be out. He had his head down, and when he looked up at second, he had Lowry standing there and no place for Moss to go.
Well, Moss hit that ball slicing towards the line, and I think he made his mind up off the bat that was going to be a double. Problem is, you got a runner ahead of you, and he was not going to be able to make it to third. Oops. Boy, a nice gift out there for the Rays. Right there, he's thinking, okay, up there, that's a double. Round and go, baby. He's looking at the play, not the runner.
Sean Rodriguez tags him out. The A's have 2 runs here in the first, and the Rays get a break there on the second out. Ground ball to third, picked up by Longoria. Throw to first, and Chris Young is out. And so out of all that, Oakland scores 2. The Rays have to feel they're pretty fortunate. They're down 2-0. Desmond Jennings will lead off, followed by Kelly Johnson and Ben Zobrist. Evan Longoria, Shelley Duncan, and Sean Rodriguez down the middle. Ryan Roberts, Jose Lobaton, and Yunel Escobar completing Joe Maddon's lineup tonight. Brett Anderson on the hill. His first pitch is a ball. Anderson, 25-year-old left-hander. Jennings opened the game last night in Baltimore with a home run. In fact, he had 2 leadoff home runs in Baltimore. He's ahead in the count 3-0 right here.
Brett Anderson pretty traditional with his stuff. Fastball, slider, curveball, changeup.
And a walk. So the Rays put Jennings aboard.
Now that's been one of the issues for Anderson here in the early going, averaging about 4.5 walks per 9 innings through his first 3 starts. Walks the leadoff man Desmond Jennings, so immediately you go to the stretch. You've got the threat of a stolen base threat out at first base. See if the Rays can capitalize.
There's a strike to Kelly Johnson.
Well, that's the one thing you want to do if you're the Rays. Obviously you want to score in every inning, but boy, Oakland came out smoking, put up 2 quick ones. You'd love to answer it here.
Chop to first, step on the bag, tag play on at second, and no chance to get Jennings there.
Yeah, good hustle by Desmond Jennings. You know, when you're the runner in his shoes, you're running down to second base, and you saw that ball come off the mat down to first base, and you don't know, are they going to go for the traditional double play or the tag? So he's going hard the whole way. Nice slide, beats it easy. Puts himself into scoring position now with 1 out.
And a chance for Ben Zobrist to get the Rays on the scoreboard. Ben bunts foul. That's a strike.
Let's take a quick look at the Oakland defense as it lines up tonight. In the outfield, left to right, Chris Young, Coco Crisp, and Josh Reddick across the infield. Third to first, Donaldson, Lowry, Sogard, and Moss. Jaso behind the plate.
Well, not a lot of at-bats for the Rays in the head-to-head matchups against Brett Anderson. Zobrist does have a couple hits. He's 2 for 4 off him. And Longoria behind Zobrist is 2 for 8 with a home run. And at bat for Jennings, first time he'd ever faced him, and he drew the walk. Inside, says Corey Blazier. Oh, 1-1 count.
Brett Anderson, he will use both sides of the plate. We talked about slider, curveball, changeup. He does a nice job of keeping the ball on the ground.
There's a base hit into center. Jennings hesitated for a moment, but he will score without a play, and the Rays answer with a run. Ben Zobrist drives in his 11th run of the year.
Well, that's exactly what Brett Anderson had in mind. That ball out of his hand had to feel pretty good. A changeup down, but look at Ben go down. Not exactly the location that he wanted, and Ben follows it right down, and just look at that. Play a little pepper with center field. That's a real nice job of hitting. You know, you take that pitch there and swing too hard, and you hit a 2-hopper right to shortstop.
Here's Evan Longoria to face the lefty. And a strike on the fastball. Anderson coming off an outing against Detroit, his 2nd loss of the year. He has, to this point, not been quite as sharp as they would like, and he's the one guy in their rotation who you could look to be an ace. They need to get a full season out of him, a couple hundred innings, and that's the thing that's been lacking so far.
Yep.
Hot shot foul.
We've had Tom Tommy John surgery and has just never been able to put together a full season's worth of starts. Definitely has the ability, the talent, and now this year, healthy from opening day, but just not quite hitting his stride as of yet.
He was their opening day pitcher against Seattle and lost 2-0.
His first 2 starts not that bad, but that most recent start against the Tigers, he was nicked up for the 7 earned runs. He gave him 3 home runs in that game.
And you see right there, year by year, 30 starts in 09. More recently, the Tommy John surgery, and then coming back from that. Well, he was good when he returned last year. Evan out on strikes. The pitch breaking down and in.
Yeah, there's a slider there by Brett Anderson. You know, you'll see a lot of lefties on righties and righties on lefties that don't like to throw that slider. They prefer either a split, a changeup, or a curveball. But Brett Anderson will throw that slider, especially down and in, try to back foot it just like he did there and get Evan Longoria to commit to the swing. Slider has good speed, but very good tilt.
This pitch to Duncan is high. Shelley has had half a dozen at bats against him, still looking for his first hit off Anderson. So it's to lay off that pitch. Last pitch, a fastball upstairs. Three and one. Oakland with 2 runs in the top of the inning. The Rays have 1 back. Zobrist at first, 2 outs. Anderson gets a call to take the count to 3 and 1. Sean Rodriguez there on deck. The count's going to go full. And ball 4. The Rays will have 2 men on. Second walk of the inning, and this one pushes Zobrist into scoring position at second. Well, BA, here's a chance for the Rays to wash out the top half of this inning and get even with a man in scoring position now.
Exactly what they wanted to do. I mean, Oakland wasted no time and jumped out. Took advantage of some command issues from Alex Cobb, some poor counts to score 2 runs, and now Brett Anderson has given the Rays an opportunity. More balls than strikes this inning, and a chance here for Sean Rodriguez.
First pitch fastball, a little extra on that one. Strike 1.
You start to realize that this is a big at bat. You do not want to allow the home team to come right back and tie up. At worst, maybe take the lead against you.
Rodriguez quickly down.
This is one of those big at bats, even though it is in the first inning. The Rays coming off of a tough road trip, going 2-7. start to get discouraged early in the game.
Pitch is high.
And really, I mean, I think they've already accomplished that by answering with a run. I mean, if Brett Anderson goes out there and goes boom, quick, 1, 2, 3, and they're right back in the field, who knows?
They pushed him to at least 25 pitches, and the 25th pitch misses. It's 2-2. This Oakland club traditionally takes a lot of pitches from the offensive end, and their pitchers make a lot of pitches. Full count.
Right now, the delivery of Brett Anderson is all over the place. You can see on those fastballs, he's really flying on his release towards third base, and that's leading to inconsistent commands. Sometimes he's leaving the ball up, other times he's carrying it with him.
Runners go, and the pitch hit through the hole on the left side. Zobrist scores the tying run on the RBI single by Rodriguez. 2-2 ball game.
Inconsistent command, and you know what? Hats off to the Rays for making him pay for it. Sean Rodriguez with the ball up and out over the plate. He just rifles it between short and third. That ties the ball game up.
So the Rays with a couple runs in the first. Let's take a look at what they've done lately, contrasted with what they did early.
A complete turnaround. That Baltimore series was big for this offense. Unfortunate they lost 2 out of 3, but I tell you what a lift for this team to come off that road trip, and the way that the game was lost last night. Quickly fall behind 2-0, but the resiliency comes right back out, and you've tied it up here in the bottom of the first.
Well, that's the one of the qualities of this team that seems to be there year in and year out. Ryan Roberts. Pitch is a strike. So something about Joe Maddon's approach seems to keep a team in the proper frame of mind and pretty resilient.
One thing that he does is he never panics. Never panics. Tomorrow's always going to be better.
I think it was Kelly Johnson who was talking about, and he's been on a few clubs, how Madden is. Tough loss last night. I mean, a tough loss. And he's observed already that Madden's pretty much the same guy every day. If you win a game, if you lose a game. And so the atmosphere's positive in that way.
Well, imagine if you're not. And I've played for managers who were up and down. I mean, you just don't know what you have. Schizophrenic. Jekyll and Hyde. You want that consistency.
Back off the glove of Anderson, and a glove flip by Lowry to second, and it's not in time. Sogard took the flip. The bases are going to be loaded.
Now right there, Sean Rodriguez. You know, 2 outs, you're going on contact, and off he goes. Ball gets over Brett Anderson's glove, and forget it. Rodriguez beats that easily.
The Rays have loaded the bases for Jose Lobaton. And Anderson has now made over 30 pitches in the inning. And Lobaton's up in the count 1-0. Well, that's a big pitch right there for Anderson.
And that's one of those swings, too, where Jose Lobaton looking at something else, and then, what are you going to do? Don't try to hold up and hurt yourself. Know that you got a couple more left.
Line shot, left center field. Duncan scores. Rodriguez on his way to the plate, and the Rays take the lead. Jose Lobaton drives in 2. It's 4-2 Tampa Bay.
Right here, another pitch out over the plate. Look at that, trying to go in. That's middle. Jose Lobaton out in the left center field, and boy, the Rays not only have answered and tied this game up, but they've doubled them up. How about that? You go from that one swing on the breaking ball, let that go, get right back in the box, boom. 2-run single.
And here is Yunel Escobar. He takes that one low. The Rays with 2 walks and 4 hits. They have 4 runs. Ground ball, third base. Donaldson down to Sogard for the force. The Rays send 9 men to the plate. They score 4. Ben Zober has got it started. He drove in Jennings. Sean Rodriguez with a base hit, driving in the tying run, and then Lobaton with a base hit, driving in 2. 4-2 Rays. Nine men to the plate in the first. 4 runs, 2 driven home by the Rays catcher Jose Lobaton. And that also ties for the most runs the Rays have put together in 1 inning. Josh Reddick leads off. And the pitch is a strike. The Rays finally got a hit with the bases loaded. Chopped down to first. Rodriguez unassisted. The Rays had gone 0 for 12 with a couple of walks with the bases loaded. And that all ended on the base hit by Jose Lobaton.
Well, that, I'll tell you what, that was a huge half of the inning. Huge half of the inning, bottom of the first, to answer like they did. 4-2, give Alex Cobb a fresh start.
Chopper to third, fair ball. Longoria's throw to first, and Josh Donaldson is the second out.
Yeah, what that does is that just allows Alex Cobb to relax. I mean, he has that tough first inning. you're not happy with yourself, you go on the bench and your offense picks you up. You come right back out here in the top of the second and look sharp. Nice play here by Evan Longoria. Once he gets to that ball, that throw on the run, pretty standard for him.
So 3 pitches, 2 outs, in contrast to the troublesome first inning. Pitch is down to Sogard. 1-0. Reddick and Donaldson hitting ground balls. Sogard ahead of the count, 2-0. Fly ball lifted toward left center, cutting across Jennings, and Desmond runs it down to retire the side. 1, 2, 3, go the A's. Desmond Jennings will lead off the second inning, with the Rays leading this game 4-2. And you're looking at right-hander Evan Scribner. He just entered the game, and he was in the bullpen and maybe threw while there were 4 pitches made in the game. And he's going to be out here to replace Brett Anderson. Bob Melvin came out and had a conversation with Corey Blazier. And so Scribner might get enough time to get warm here if there's something wrong with Anderson, and it's unusual that he would be lifted after 1 inning and 36 pitches if he did not have something wrong with him.
Well, that's the first thing you think of. I mean, obviously a rough first inning for Brett Anderson, but still you allow him to go back out there and try to get into a rhythm. So your first thing that comes to mind is some sort of injury, and that's what's going to allow Scribner the pitches that he needs. And you wonder how long Bob Melvin will be able to go with Scribner. You look over his season, 7 appearances. Most recent was on April the 14th, pitched 2 1/3 innings. That was his long outing of the year.
So Bob Melvin has to dip into the bullpen early here. Well, we're going to head into the bottom of the second inning. Scribner will be facing the top of the order as the Rays send 9 men to the plate in the first inning.
Scribner, same thing as Brett Anderson, obviously from the right side, but fastball, curveball, slider, split.
Jennings goes for the first pitch. Down to third. Donaldson makes that play easily. Scribner normally tops out in the upper 80s. Might occasionally hit 90. Here's Kelly Johnson. That's a strike. Not a lot of at-bats for the Rays, as you might guess, against Scribner, although they might have to figure out a way to get Sam Fold in the game against him. He's 2 for 2 against him. That's the extent of the depth of at-bats against this right-hander. Sam right there. Took advantage of a couple walks and 4 hits in the first to overcome a 2-run deficit. It's a ball and 2 strikes.
Just a handful of fastballs that we've seen from Scribner. It looks like it's got almost a little bit of some natural cutting action.
The breaking ball is fouled back. Speaking of Sam Fold, he's going to be speaking tomorrow over at All Children's Hospital on Diabetes Family Day. And as you know, something that Sam has contended with and has done a great deal of work in the community, particularly with youngsters, on coping with that particular challenge. Two-two the count to Johnson. Fouls the fastball. And we'll get another 2-2 pitch. Well, the Yankees have a 3-1 lead at Toronto on the top of the third. That's Pettit against Morrow. How about Travis Hafner of the Yankees?
How about that?
I mean, he's hit his 5th home run of the year in that game, and had an RBI double in the first.
So then he's probably had to have pushed that batting average up over 350. As he came in 342 and 4.
It's too high. Rays get a runner. 1 out walk.
Well, tonight's game and all season long, Tires Plus will donate $100 to the Pediatric Cancer Foundation for every Tampa Bay Rays home run televised on Sun Sports.
Well, Ben Zobrist hitting third. Up here with a man on and 1 out. There goes the runner. Pitch is a ball in the throw. One hops in and bounces away. Johnson in with his 2nd stolen base.
Now this is when Joe Madden loves to manage. Just continue to put pressure on the opposing team's pitcher and the defense.
Send Kelly Johnson.
The wide throw by John Jaso allows him to get in there.
Zobrist with a chance to drive in another run. This pitch blocked by Jaso. There's a long one, but well fouled. The count is 2-1. You know, the base hit by Lobatone first hit for the Rays with the bases loaded this year. It was also the first hit the A's pitching staff had allowed with the bases loaded. They had an 0 for 12 going in the opposite direction until Lobatone's base hit. Now 3-1. Curveball taken down and in. Right side. Sogard will make the play to first. That'll move Johnson over to third. He'll be there with 2 outs for Evan Longoria. Evan struck out against the left-hander Anderson in the first. Curveball is in for a strike. Well, Longoria's got into the extra base habit, including 3 home runs on the trip. He homered his first time up last night in Baltimore. Down in the count 0-2.
Adding and subtracting on the curveball. That one at just 71 miles an hour. It was like it was never going to get there. Scribner staying away as of now with that fastball. He's got that little cut action right into the swing path of Evan Longoria.
Stays with the curveball and Evan fouls it. Evan has managed to reach base in every game for the Rays so far. Rolls it to third. Donaldson makes the routine play, and the Rays leave a man at third base. We're at the end of 2, 4-2 Tampa Bay. He's hold a 4-2 lead early. It will be the top of the order for Oakland. That means Coco Crisp, our Toyota Trend Crisp, off to a very good start. Great start in total bases, which reflects the power numbers of Coco Crisp. Not only does he have a 12-game hitting streak, but extra base hits aplenty.
Switch hitter. Well, you saw, that first at bat, the ball was left out over the plate. There was no stride. He just is very quick with his hands. He rifled that ball down into the corner. Quick twitch muscles.
One ball, no strikes. That's what baseball is.
Oh, yes, it is.
Just quick movement.
Well, listen, it's not always the biggest guys, but quick hands and you get them through the zone. Obviously, strength will help if it goes along with quick hands.
He lifts a fly ball to right this time. Zobrist in front of the track. So that's the first out here in the third. Gives us a chance to check in with Kelly.
Thanks, Dwayne. Now, fans, if you're into Twitter, you already know I am. You will love our brand new interactive Game Connect. Go to foxsportsflorida.com/Rays. On the left, you'll see a link called Game Connect. There you see it right there on the screen. Tweets on the right, stats on the left. Now, you just saw a replay of Longo's homer from last night, last inning. Well, how about this Longo stat I found on there? 3 of his 4 hits in his last 19 at-bats have left the park. Yeah, when he hits, he goes yard. I'm on Game Connect right now, guys. Let me know what you think. Tweet me at Sun Sports Rays.
All right, Kelly, thank you very much. John Jaso with a count of 1 strike. And a foul ball, 0-2. Cobb settled in and had a very short second inning. Crisp opened the game with a double, and then Jaso victimized on that running catch by Zobrist out in right field. If Zobrist doesn't make that catch, you don't know what that inning looks like. Ground ball. Ryan Roberts picks it up. 2 gone.
Think about that inning.
Yeah.
For Oakland. If he doesn't make that catch, and if Brandon Moss has better awareness coming around first base, boy, oh boy. That was a tremendous play moving away.
And that's the thing about Zobrist on this club, especially because there's so much mixing and matching and interchanging of positions. And Zobrist is so good in right field. Seth Smith. Breaking ball is wide. Zobrist, I think sometimes is overlooked at how good he is in right field. He's good at second base, and last year at the end of the year again demonstrated that he could play shortstop and be just fine. He's really good at second base and right field, and I know that George Hendrick was one of the first guys on the Rays coaching staff who championed Zobrist in right field.
George has a pretty good idea.
Yep, he spent a lot of time there himself, doing a nice job. Staying hydrated tonight and nourished.
And look at that refill.
Another one to second for Roberts. It's a 1-2-3 inning. Bottom of the third coming up, and the Rays lead 4-2.
For the third inning, Sean Rodriguez will bat second in this inning. The Rays had a little meeting before the game, a players-only meeting in their lounge in the clubhouse about an hour and a half before the game. Sean Rodriguez, now in his 4th year with Tampa Bay, assesses how the clubhouse has been during this 5-10 start.
We could be a little bit more loose right now, but I don't think anybody's pressing too much. You know, maybe a couple guys here or there trying to do too much, but nah, I mean, there's no one in this clubhouse who isn't, you know, willing to take on whatever's put in front of them and work their butt off. I mean, from, you know, the guy who's been here the longest to the guy who's new to the club. I mean, everyone here works hard.
Joe Madden said he would never call a meeting this early or probably ever, but the players felt like they needed to talk, so that was their prerogative. They decided to get together before the game today. Guys?
1 strike to count to Shelly Duncan. Liner up the left side. That's foul down through the bullpen. 0-2. Sean Rodriguez will hit second, and then Ryan Roberts. Ball, 2 strikes. Drilled deep toward left center field. Young on the run. It's going to be over his head. Duncan's going to dig for 2 and make it standing up with a double. Shelly Duncan with a 2-base hit.
Look at that pitch is right up around the letters. Shelly Duncan, middle of the plate. Just strokes that ball onto left center field. Nobody can get to it. And the Rays off and running here in the 3rd.
Well, you can see Duncan had a nice little rhythm going there with that swing. So he attacked that pitch. Now Sean Rodriguez.
Yeah, that's why when you hear guys talk about, you know, hitting, guys being on time, that's exactly what you're talking about. That nice little rhythm, you get your load and everything runs smooth.
One and 0. High ball to Reddick and right. Duncan back to tag to draw the throw, but that's it. Reddick unleashes a pretty good throw from right field. So Duncan still in scoring position now for Ryan Roberts. Ball, no strikes. Just had a shot of Ben Zobrist with Derek Shelton about his approach to a pitch.
It's amazing during the course of a ball game. Constant tinkering that goes on. And always looking for something, whether it's about the pitcher. What does Derek Shelton see? What do you see with my swing right now?
Always a work in progress.
It really is. And that's the thing, and that's why you've got to come out every single day, you know, to stay sharp. Even on the days where there's no official batting practice on the field, most everybody's in the cage swinging away. Don't like to take those days off.
As a pitcher, do you concede that hitting is the more difficult thing to do?
Oh, yeah, especially having gotten a chance to play in the National League and try to hit yourself. Yeah, when you have an idea of how a pitcher is going to pitch you.
It's a little looper going to be over Sogard's head into center. Duncan heads to the plate. The Rays have another run. Well, just enough to get it into center field. And Roberts drives in a run to make it 5-2.
Ryan Roberts strong enough. That ball cut just a little bit. Ryan Roberts able to push that ball out into center field, drop it in there, score Shelley Duncan, and extend that lead. Yeah, that's the one thing I was almost been amazed about is I had a pretty good idea. Listen, when I stand up in the box, I'm going to see a couple fastballs down and away. Occasional wrinkle, and some guys will pitch you a little tougher than others. But when you start to think of a true 300 hitter and how they get pitched, each and every at-bat, and off speed early, in, up, down, and the way that they're able to go out and continue to be productive, you're like, they're pretty good to be able to do that.
Here's Jose Lobaton. I just thought it's an interesting question because I think historically hitting probably became more appreciated when pitching got better and better. You know, there was a point in the pre-Ruth era when pitching was seen as the really difficult and refined part of the game. Runner goes and Lobaton fouls it out of play. And that, of course, the game was different then. It was a small ball type of game. And pitching was revered as maybe the more difficult thing to do, to be exact and have command and all that. But Ruth changed the point of view, the perspective. Hitting became more dynamic, and then I think pitching responded to that. And you've had this escalation of pitching and hitting, and you've gone through cycles in the game where for a period of years pitching may dominate, then hitting dominated, and sometimes there were outside influences in that. But,
yeah.
But sometimes I think it was just the ebb and flow of the game, and the approach that people took to pitching and hitters took to hitting. High pop, short center. Sogard out from second to make the catch. That'll be the second out. So 2 outs with a runner at first, a run home. And let's again check in with Todd for a little update on what happened to Brett Anderson.
Yeah, how about that? The Rays have their lineup in against the lefty, and he lasts just 1 inning. They're saying it's a sprained right ankle. So he took a ball off the pitching hand a couple of starts ago, had a little contusion around the thumb, but that's not it. It's a sprained right ankle. The reason that he has left the game so early, guys.
Yeah, in the Houston game, he was hit on the wrist and the thumb. And a sprained ankle, the call here tonight, and he's out after 1 inning. Pitch out to Escobar. Nothing doing with Roberts at first.
The Rays tend to choose to not run on pitch outs. It's organizational philosophy.
It's a policy.
Yep.
Big cut and a high popper coming back into fair territory, and down from first is Moss to make the catch in front of the plate. Rays had a run through 3. They lead 5-2. Sports is brought to you by the Tampa Bay Times, the official newspaper of the Rays and their fans. And by Toyota. Let's go places. The Rays and the A's move into the fourth inning. Tropicana Field. Alex Cobb, after a shaky first, has been very good and very efficient in the last 2 innings. 16 pitches total in the second and third frames. Here's Lowry. Bunt. And Cobb tries a barehanded attempt to pick it up, but could not pick it up, and that's a bunt single.
Alex Cobb upset with himself. He had nice bounce off the mound there. If he comes up with that cleanly, a real good chance to throw Lowry out. Watch him get off the mound. Good read, gets over there, just can't quite come up with it.
Lowry, the leadoff hitter in the inning, is aboard. Brandon Moss. Sends it to center field where Jennings is there and makes the grab. So 1 away.
Alex Cobb, you talked about how efficient he was second and third inning. He's now established the strike zone, got himself into a nice little rhythm, and now forcing this Oakland Athletic team, normally very patient, to have to be in swing early mode or risk falling behind in the count.
Yeah, this is really something. If you can go through, for example, even with that first inning, he'd gone through the first 3 innings with just 32 pitches.
Yeah.
Against this team.
That's right. They average over 4 pitches a plate appearance. It leads Major League Baseball.
Chris Young, the left fielder.
But that's how you beat a team like that. You know, if they want to be patient, that's fine. But if you're able to establish not just strikes out over the plate, you saw what Coco Crisp did to that first strikeout over the plate, but quality strikes early in the count. Now you force them to have to swing. That's when you kind of start to expand the zone on them and be effective.
It's a strike at the knees.
You know, teams as a group get comfortable taking pitches, working at bats, sharing information on the bench, trying to get the starter out in the 5th inning. If you go out there and can, in a very efficient way, take the game right to them by quality strikes early, you take them right out of their game plan, right out of what their comfort zone.
Keeping an eye on Lowry at first. That's the other thing Oakland's doing. They're stealing bases. Lowry has not stolen a base, doesn't have an attempted steal, but they have they've stolen 15 bases already.
Reddick's got 4. Chris Young's got 4. They will run up and down the lineup. That's the thing too. They're hot offensively, but you see how much distance they've put between themselves and other teams in the American League. You know, coming into play, 20 more runs than the Tigers. You look at the doubles, 11 more than the Baltimore Orioles, now at 41.
And of course, they love to walk.
Right.
So
you're seeing that many pitches, you're going to walk.
Yep. And they have welcomed the Houston Astros into the American League West. They're 6-0 against them.
Well, you knew that was going to be a tough transition. Houston Astros starting from scratch, and I mean scratch, and going out to a very tough and balanced American League West.
So Bob Melvin, his club's doing what they're supposed to do.
Yes.
Beat those teams.
That's right. And you know what? We talked about it with the Rays in the American League East. It's so much parity, relatively speaking, that when you get outside of the division against teams you're supposed to beat, you have to beat them.
And right there, Cobb beats Young with a fastball up, strikes him out. That's the first strikeout of the night for Alex Cobb.
And Alex Cobb climbing the ladder with the fastball. So used to that pitch being down in the zone, trying to get ground balls. He goes up by the letters, gets it right by Young.
Josh Reddick. A strike. Reddick had a very good year last year, got off to a great start, and then struggled at the end of the season offensively.
Is he on special assignment with the DEA?
Oh, look at that. A shot down the right field line, and that ball, fortunately for the Rays, is foul. Oh, he hit that ball hard on a line and got around and pulled it foul.
A little bit too quick. Oh, hey, I mean, come on now. You're going to go, what was that, a hat or a glove? Whatever it was, the lady behind him wore it.
But there she is.
Yeah, she got smoked.
Yeah, she did. But she also got the souvenir. She fell right at her feet, and she made the play.
Complete whiff job.
Reddick lifts a pop foul. That's going to be out of play. Of course, the Rays with Reddick, such a pull hitter, they have the shift on for him. Let's see. Somebody might have. Oh, he tried the hat, the cap. That's great resilience right there. You got to like that. You got to appreciate that. 1-2. She was minding her own business out there, and suddenly here comes this fly ball off Reddick's bat.
And Crooked Hat down there couldn't corral it. Well, can't blame him. The hair probably in the eyes. It's not easy. It looks like he can play for him now. He's got the good hair.
Reddick is out on strikes. Couple strikeouts there. Out in front on the changeup. No runs. The bunt single and a man left. Rays half of the fourth coming. Rays lead 5-2.
Lead the A's 5-2. The Rays Summer Concert Series returns with acts for the entire family.
You can enter the danger zone with Kenny Loggins, listen to country music megastar Martina McBride, or watch your kids move all around the field with the Imagination Movers. For the full concert lineup, visit raysbaseball.com/concerts.
Desmond Jennings will lead off here in the 4th inning, leading off for the 3rd time in the last 4 innings. Scribner, the right-hander, 27 years old. It's a strike. Oakland got him after the 2011 season from San Diego. Waiver claim. Jennings behind 0-2. Skipped in. Way out in front of the plate.
There we go.
That's almost like cricket. Bounce that delivery in. Foul ball. Scribner had everything going on that prior pitch except the running start to deliver that pitch. Johnson is on deck. Joe Madden like what he's seen recently out of Kelly Johnson, and has had him in there against lefties and righties. Of course, he's got a history of success against left-handed pitching. Johnson, who's sitting behind Desmond in the lineup again tonight. Desmond has worked the count full now. Fell behind, and here we are 3-2. And a 3-ball count in the first, 3-1, and drew the walk. And he draws the walk here. Nice job. The leadoff pass.
Well, this is just a reminder as you enjoy a cold one to look forward to Miller Time later in tonight's game, brought to you by Miller Lite.
And now Kelly Johnson. He walked in the 2nd inning and picked up a steal. An eye on Desmond Jennings at first. He's back in. More time over there. Johnson at the plate has made an adjustment with his hands. He's dropped his hands a little bit, and he thinks it's made it easy for him to get a swing started. Jennings starts to go and stops. Desmond 4 or 5 in the running department.
And Desmond 31 on a 33 last year. Like the jump that he got there on that delivery by Scribner.
Scribner continues to keep an eye on him.
After Joe sent Kelly Johnson that 4-2 lead, you got to believe that Desmond Jennings looking for an opportunity to go.
Foul down behind George Hendrick and toward the bullpen. See, the cap worked fine that time. A little easier though on that little toss. Brett Anderson, the starter for Oakland, left after an inning. Eric Scribner in here. The pitch is pop foul, third base side, a long run with Donaldson, and it's going to fall out of reach down into the Oakland bullpen. The Rays got 4 runs off Anderson, and they have 1 off Evan Scribner. And a leadoff walk in the bottom of the 4th. And again, a bluff start over at first by Jennings, getting the attention of the Oakland catcher, John Jaso.
Jennings has everybody on high alert, and rightfully so.
There goes Jennings. The pitch is down and pops away from Jaso, and Desmond is in safely at second with a steal.
Well, Desmond Jennings picking the right pitch to run on. You wonder if he was able to peek in there and see what that was going to be. This is a breaking ball in the dirt. Great jump. Going standing up.
Yeah, he approached the bag as if he had a pretty good idea of what that pitch might have been. And there's one that drops in. Breaking ball, curveball for strike 3 call. Well, Scribner is on the verge of 50 pitches. His career high is 52. He came in after Anderson made a 36-pitch first and left with a sprained right ankle. Scribner worked the second, the third, and now here he is in the 4th. Ben Zobrist at the plate with a man in scoring position. And a curveball starts Zobrist, and that's a strike. He got below 70 on that curveball.
If you're not going to have blow you away type of velocity, you got to find other ways to keep hitters off balance. And we've seen that curveball range. He'll drop 2 miles here, add 2 miles there, increase the break, throw it a little bit harder. A little natural cut action on the heater.
And he misses low with a fastball in the upper 80s. That one at 88. That evens it. Another fastball at 88 that caught the strike zone.
Keeping that ball down. Plenty of plate.
Ball 3. So it's a full count. Ground ball hit the mound and skips through into center. Jennings will score. Big turn at first by Zobrist. He'll hold, and the Rays have a 6-2 lead. Zobrist drives in his second run of the night.
And Ben Zobrist was able to recognize that pitch in time. His body started, but he kept his hands back. And here's the breaking ball. There he goes. Look at him. Just stop there. Keep the hands back. Watch this. The body goes. Look at him just wait right there. And then pull the hands through. That's nicely done on a 3-2 breaking ball to drive in a run.
Rays with 7 hits, 6 runs, and here's Evan Longoria. Fastball at 90. Longoria took a cut at that one. Having 3 home runs in his last 4 games. Quickly down. The fastball, the count is 0-2. There goes Zobrist. The pitch is a ball, and the throw will not be in time. Zobrist steals the base. His second stolen base of the year, and for the Rays, their second steal of the inning.
Joe continues to put that pedal to the metal, and Ben Zobrist another great jump.
Rays have 3 stolen bases for the night. And a long one, high and deep to left, off the bat of Longoria. Gone! Home run! Evan Longoria turns on a fastball. Rays now lead 8-2.
And you know, Dwayne, that fastball that Longoria just hit out was very similar to the ball that he hit out of the ballpark last night off Miguel Gonzalez. Almost the same spot. That down and in where he just drops the barrel. Gets that same lift, almost hit it to the same exact part of the field.
So that's 4 home runs in the last 5 games for Longoria. Shelley Duncan takes it high. Rays make it a 3-run 4th. Base is empty and still just 1 out. One ball, 1 strike. Action in the Oakland bullpen. Jerry Blevins, the lefty. Scribner at 62 pitches. In relief here of Anderson. Two. Eight runs, 8 hits for the Rays, 2 runs, 4 hits for Oakland. Duncan has scored 2 of those runs. He walked in the first and scored, led off the third with a double, and was driven home by Ryan Roberts. Into shallow right. Reddick is there. That's out number 2. So with 2 outs and the base is empty, Sean Rodriguez will be up here. Dominguez lifts a towering fly ball, not overly deep, and Crisp is there. Rays are out in the fourth, but they score 3. 2 coming on the home run by Evan Longoria, and the Rays lead 8-2. Settled in. Meanwhile, his teammates have scored 8 runs for him as we take a look at the Just for Man auto stop foolproof stat. How about this? Active streaks by starters pitching 5+ innings in consecutive games. The Rays right now at 25 lead by quite a margin, and on the verge of pushing that to 26 here with Alex Cobb about to go into the 5th inning.
An impressive stat that just shows you the consistency of this Rays staff 1 through 5 and what they're able to accomplish. I mean, Detroit Tigers next in line, still 10 starts behind them.
Josh Donaldson pitches up. It's interesting, you know, we get a chance to talk with other sports broadcasters and writers from around the country, and they're always interested in what makes this team tick. I talked with some people today out in Oakland, and they wanted to know really what makes the Rays as good as they've been. Well, it all starts with what we just saw right there, starting pitching.
That's it,
and that's essentially the philosophy of the Rays' success. Starting pitching. You build a good bullpen, help that pitching out with good defense.
You know, not just good glove guys, but athleticism that not only will catch the ball, but they can cover ground.
Yep.
You add all that up and run prevention. And that's how they make up for sometimes the lack of offense, like the way that this season started.
Well, it gives you an opportunity to be in games more often than not.
Oh, yeah.
Consistently, you're going to have a chance to win almost night in and night out.
You don't beat yourself. Play solid fundamental baseball. You're absolutely right. You'll be in every game, especially when you run out the starters that the Rays do and be able to turn it over to the bullpen.
It's interesting when these two teams meet because they're not altogether different in what they try to do. They're both in situations where there's a limited market, and as a result of that, they have to get a little creative. Chopped to third. Longoria tries to barehand, and that ball stays down on him. That's going to be an infield hit for Donaldson.
Well, and you wonder too with the turf here, if that ball actually, as it hit, bounded away from the bare hand of Evan Longoria. It looked like he had a good beat on it and then a little reach at the end.
And I thought that was true on the bunt by Lowry that Cobb tried to make.
Well, here's a good look at it.
Right here, he's got it timed up, ready to go, and then you see how that ball bounced kind of down and away from him. A little side spin.
Donaldson with an infield hit. Eric Sogard. He strokes it the other way for a base hit into left. First 2 men are on. The 8 and 9 hitters are aboard. And this Oakland club, you can't get too complacent with them, with their offense and what it has been at the start of this year. Suddenly 2 men on in the top of the order, Coco Crisp, who's been swinging a red hot bat.
Well, a good visit here by Jim Hickey, because although Alex Cobb has been on quite a little groove here, that's it. This Oakland offense, seen them here in the first couple weeks of the season be able to explode quickly.
Well, you know, you talked about this Oakland lineup and how many pitches they see per at bat. 4 pitches, roughly. And through the first 4 innings, Cobb had held them to 2.7 pitches per at bat.
Well, that's because after the first 4 or 5 hitters of the ball game, he got into a nice rhythm of throwing strikes early and forcing them to swing the bat. I mean, listen, I'm all for working a nice at bat, but if a guy's going to pound the zone in quality places, I don't want to sit there. You know, listen, you got to be a good 2-strike hitter or not afraid to hit with 2 strikes to work a count. But no one wants to be standing up there 0-2.
Coco Crisp takes a look at a pitch down.
And by forcing them to swing earlier in the count, out of their comfort zone, and at his pitches, how many ground balls has he got? A ton. Need another one here.
Two and 0. Crisp with a 12-game hitting streak. His on base percentage up close to .430 coming into this game. Ground ball second. Roberts, Escobar 1, Rodriguez 2. He got the double play. That's the ground ball he was looking for. Sharply hit and right at Roberts with plenty of time to double up Coco Crisp.
Yeah, that's probably the only way you're going to be able to do it, is if he does hit it somewhat hard. But that's the benefit of a guy who gets a ton of ground balls. You give up a couple of hits to start off an inning, and then all of a sudden, 1 pitch, and you get 2 outs. It's a thing of beauty.
John Jaso. Strike at the knees. Jaso robbed of an extra base hit by Zobrist in the first, and a ground ball to second in the third. Chopped to first. Rodriguez aggressively scoops and steps on the bag. Couple of hits, no runs, and a man left. Bottom of the 5th coming, 8-2 Rays.
Headed to the bottom of the 5th inning. Joe Madden watches over the field at the Trop, and now he can watch over your field at home. The Rays take on the Yankees on April 24th, and the first 10,000 fans get a Joe Madden Gnome presented by Sun Sports. Visit RaysBaseball.com for tickets.
Oh, ha, ha, look. You know what that is? That's pretty good sliding into second base for him, too.
While he's double fisting.
That's right. Eyes wide open. We got to the home half of the 5th. And Roberts leads it off, and he's facing the left-hander Jerry Blevins right now. Scribner out of there after Anderson worked 1 inning. There's the curveball from Blevins, and with him out there, you're likely to see that a lot. He got ahead with a fastball and went right to the breaking pitch. How about those numbers?
Is that good?
8 runs, 8 hits for the Rays, 2 runs, 6 hits for Oakland. In the bottom of the 5th. Count squares at 2-2. Rays offense has continued to be productive, and that's a welcome sight. Popper right side. Moss, the first baseman, handles it. 1 away. Rays have now scored in 12 of their last 22 innings over the last 3 games. The 10 games before that, and scored in 11 of 70 innings. Joe Madden just kept a smile on his face. It's Jose Lobaton. Just foul. Strike 1. One strike the count here to Jose Lobaton. Lobaton had the big hit in that 4-run first. He gave the Rays the lead with a base hit, driving in 2. Tap to third. Donaldson takes care of that. 2 gone here.
Well, let's take a look at tonight's Twitter poll by AT Who will win the American League West? Hashtag TB1 the A's, TB2 the Rangers, TB3 the Mariners, TB4 the Angels, or TB5 the Astros. The Astros made the list. You can tweet your vote to @SunSportsRays. Don't forget the hashtag in front of all the TB numbers.
Now Escobar. He drives it straight back down the middle to center. Chris backing up, and before he gets to the track, makes the catch 1, 2, 3 go the Rays in the 5th, and we head to the 6th. 8-2 Tampa Bay. Rays found themselves down 2-0 in the bottom of the first, but Vin Zobrist started the scoring with an RBI single. Sean Rodriguez tied it with a base hit, and a bases loaded single by Jose Lobaton made it a 4-2 game. Rays scored a run in the 3rd and 3 in the 4th. 2 of those coming on Evan Longoria's 4th home run of the year. And the Rays have built an 8-2 lead. Opening game of this series, this weekend series at the Trop with Oakland. And Alex Cobb goes to work against Seth Smith. Throws him a first pitch breaking ball for a strike. 55 pitches through 5 innings. And a strike here to start the 6th for Cobb. Back to the hill. The 2-pitch at bat right there. Something that you don't see a lot of against this Oakland club.
Well, look at the way he, set up Seth Smith. First pitch, a curveball for a strike. Something that he's been able to do quite effectively. That curveball here in his first couple of starts, especially to left-handed hitters. That's where the biggest change in that pitch can be seen. Increased usage against lefties, and a lot of it early in the count. Throw it in there. Most guys aren't up there looking first pitch curveball, so you could drop it in for strike 1. Immediate advantage to you.
Jed Lowry has 2 hits, an RBI single, and a bunt single. He takes the curveball low.
Well, here's the flip side of that. If you do throw that pitch for a ball, you always, because of that good split changeup that he has, even falling behind in the count, you're not always in a fastball count because you're behind. Got a good changeup.
Well, we talked about that the other day. Comes back with a breaking ball, and in Hellicks's case, and any off-speed pitcher with a good changeup, they'd almost rather be behind in the count than ahead in the count.
I can remember vividly. I mean, that was, I loved the changeup, and 2-1 counts never bothered me. In fact, the 2-1 count to the right hitter, I felt like I had the advantage, because I know now you really wanted to swing when you got up to the plate. Now at 2-1, you are looking to swing, and I know it, and I'm going to give you something that looks like the pitch you want. Not going to quite get there, and you're going to hit it off the end of the bat somewhere. These Rays pitchers are very adept at doing that.
Back even 2-2 with Lowry. Yeah, that's especially true anyway, but especially true with men on base.
Yeah.
Those hitters love to be ahead in the count and get aggressive.
And why is Jeremy Hellickson so successful in those situations? Because he really can slow the game down and be good with the off speed. He becomes very deliberate out on the mound. Almost that tension just continues to build with these hitters. And that very good changeup of his takes advantage of it.
And then every once in a while you see a pitch like that where Cobb came out of his delivery a little bit and missed with the breaking ball.
Well, you know, that's the thing about that new spike curve that he throws. You're going to have some pitches that just shoot out of your hand like that because of the new grip. So it's a different pitch to throw. And it, you know, when you have your typical curveball here that he used to throw, you're throwing it over 2 fingers, and you come over the top like that, let it roll. It's got to pop up over 2 fingers, and you know, a lot of guys can have a nice curveball doing that. But with that spike curve, you know, a lot of guys will just get that finger out of the way, whether it be like this or whether they actually spike it. And when you spike it like Alex does, now all of a sudden, now you're going to spin it over 1 finger. But guess what? That grip can be, you know, tenuous at best.
Slip out of there.
That's right. That's the hardest thing, is the controlling of this pitch. That's why you got to continue to work on it. But when you get it down, now that ball spins over 1 finger. You increase the spin speed. That will increase the depth, the speed of the pitch, the sharpness of the pitch. And that's exactly what we've seen from Alex Cobb and why that pitch has been so good for him here in the first couple starts.
Another foul ball by Lowry. And that coupled with a changeup and then command of the fastball, he's got some tools to work with.
Oh, yes, he does. Good idea of what he's doing out there. You know, the willingness to throw, you know, his pitches to both sides of the plate. Really, for Alex, the next step is try to get into that rhythm a little bit earlier in the game, because he's got all the tools.
This one into center field, left center, going to drop for a base hit between Johnson and Jennings. And a single for Lowry. Well, he worked for that. That was a 9-pitch at bat, and we have not seen anything like that tonight out of this Oakland lineup. So that was pretty vintage Oakland right there. Brandon Moss. Well, Cobb gave up 5 runs in 4 1/3 in his first start against the A's. That came in August of 2011. And a base hit into right with 1 out, 2 men on. Moss goes after the first pitch. A changeup waiting on it. But after that first start, he had given up only a run in 16 innings spread over his last 2 starts against him. Well, they got 2 off him tonight, and then he settled in, and the Rays offense went to work as well, building an 8-2 lead. Chris Young has grounded out and struck out. Fastball to start him. Just too low. 1-1. Back-to-back base hits. Lowry worked him for a 9-pitch at bat. Single. Moss went after the first pitch. It's now 2-1 to Chris Young. Young came over from the National League pretty much a center fielder and found himself in a crowded outfield. Cespedes now on the DL with that hand strain. Young getting some playing time in the outfield and left, which is a little different experience for him. Most of his time in center. Good pitch right there to make the count 2-2. Chris patrolling center in Oakland. And a pop-up on the infield, and Escobar does the formality. Well, last August, on the 23rd of August, Alex Cobb threw the first shutout of his pro career. He beat Oakland 5-0. Spinning a 4-hitter, had 8 strikeouts and walked only 2.
This was the best part. Matt Moore coming in late, smoking him.
Here's Josh Reddick. Pitch is down. All those strikes. Two and 0. You could only imagine a couple of beards like that when they were prospecting for gold in the Bay Area in California.
I mean, there's a lot of effort that goes into that. Not pulling that off overnight. I mean, that's got to be in full effect the entire offseason. That is aggressive.
Upstairs. The count is 3 balls and a strike. Now the count is full.
Fastball there by Alex right on the outside corner. Back and give one more. It's off and moving. Not a bad play there by Alex. You know, full count, 2 strikes. They're going to be off and running, and catch one of them leaving a little bit too soon. Pick up an out to end this inning.
He's out on strikes to retire the side. Well, Alex Cobb has pitched 6 innings tonight, and he has been very, very good, surviving the first and settling in nicely. Rays lead 8-2. to you by H.H. Gregg. Opening game of the homestand. Oakland in for 2 more, and then the New York Yankees come in. Desmond Jennings leads off again. And the pitch is a strike. He has led off 4 times in this game now. He has walked twice, grounded out in between, has scored 2 runs, and has a steal. Breaks his bat, and bouncer to short. Lowry's throw to first in time. They'll pick up the remainder of the bat as Kelly Johnson approaches the plate.
You look over this score sheet here, this Rays lineup once again getting production all the way through. 8 runs here in the bottom of the 6th inning, 1 out in.
Zobrist has 2 runs batted in. Longoria has 2. Rodriguez 1. Roberts 1, and Lobaton the other 2. Lobaton's base hit gave them the lead, broke a 2-2 tie. Strike to Johnson. The left-hander Blevins has followed Anderson and Scribner. A ball and a strike. Jeremy Hellickson pitches tomorrow night. That'll be Hellickson and Parker. Roberto Hernandez pitches here Sunday afternoon. Two balls, 2 strikes. Ball popping away, and a high throw from Jaso, and Johnson hustling down to first is safely in there. A strikeout as Johnson reaches.
Jaso really never stepped into the throw. Watch him kind of get it and just soft toss it. Well, that ball sails. Tell you what, anytime a guy gets mechanically, see how he kind of leads with that elbow and just flips the ball down there instead of throwing it, and it's high and wide.
And Zobrist goes after the first pitch. Handled by the second baseman Sogard. 2 outs with a man aboard.
Take a look at tomorrow's starting matchup, brought to you by Coventry Healthcare of Florida. Jared Parker, Jeremy Hellickson. Jared Parker, tremendous arm, off to a slow start this year. 3 starts at ERA at 10.8. We'll be looking to turn those numbers around, and Jeremy Hellickson looking to get back on track.
You look at the ERA and the opposing average for Hellickson.
Yeah.
They're just complete opposite.
Well, and how about how he threw the ball last time out? Right off the bat, and then he settled down nicely.
On the count to Longoria. So 2 outs with a runner aboard. Second inning for Blevins. Cobb had a little bit of an extended inning in the 6th, but with that, he's still only made 78 pitches through 6 innings tonight. It's a 2-1 count. Now with 4 home runs on the year, managed to reach base in all 16 games. 2-2.
That plate just got wide on Evan. The fastball, the previous pitch was very close in, and now this backdoor breaking ball. He gets dinged for both of them.
Yes, he did.
Even he's mouthing like, wow. Should just call timeout and head into the dugout and bring out that 40-inch bat. Yeah. Make sure he can cover it.
Evan out on strikes. That retires the side. Rays leave a man. We head into the 7th. It's 8-2 Tampa Bay.
Up tomorrow on Rays Live, the pregame show presented by your Gulf Coast Honda dealers. Take a look at the Rays offensive revival that continues tonight. And the pitching matchup, Jeremy Hellickson versus Jared Parker.
Now, the Rays have a couple of guys in their lineup, and Joe Madden was saying that Ryan Roberts was going to get at least 2 starts in this series against Oakland, and I would imagine that tomorrow would be at least the other one. He's 3 out of 6 lifetime against Parker. And Zobrist in a half dozen at bats, has a couple hits, including a home run. So they would be leading the charge, at least theoretically, tomorrow.
Or does he get green squared and they start him against the lefty Tommy Malone? That's the that's one of the aspects of our job that's so exciting, is coming in every day
and guessing,
checking the lineup.
Yeah.
You never know.
That's the first thing I want to see. It really truly is.
Well, it's great because sometimes I'll get up to the booth and you'll be like, you're not going to believe this. You know, it's a good one.
Yeah. 2 strikes here on Donaldson. Well, We have two managers who really will juggle the lineup. Bob Melvin over at Oakland.
Yeah.
Gets a little creative himself. Under the same set of circumstances.
It's two similar teams, franchises, the way they do their business.
Yep. Joe with 151 different lineups last year and well on his way this year. It's a ball and 2 strikes. And how about that for positioning? Right at Roberts, a line drive up the middle, and Roberts was right there waiting for that line drive.
There he is.
So that's the first out in the 7th inning. Sogard at the plate. Sogard had a base hit in the 5th. Here's Cobb pitching into the 7th inning again. 7 1/3 against Cleveland. He pitched 2 outs into the 7th inning against Boston. Out into the 7th inning so far tonight. Fun thing about watching Cobb, there are a number of them, but one of them, he is a little bit of a bulldog out there, and the other is he does a lot of pitching, which is fun. He's not throwing, he's pitching.
No, right. There's a difference. There's a lot of guys that get outs. You know, they can just overpower you. Alex Cobb, not blessed with the overpowering stuff, but he's got very good stuff, very good late action on all of his pitches. And he moves the ball around the zone, in, out. We've seen the early curveballs. We've seen a few finishing curveballs. Of course, the split. Yeah, there's usually not a day you come to the ballpark not excited about at least half of the pitching matchup.
Yeah, that's right. Pulled up the right field line, foul. The Rays scored 4 in the first, picked up a run in the third, 3 in the fourth, all in answer to a couple runs in the top of the first from Oakland. Right down to Rodriguez. Sean steps on the bag. 2 gone. Well, Coco Crisp hit the first pitch of the game and lined it into the right field corner for a double. That extended his hitting streak to 12. Looked at a fly ball to right in the third. Then with 2 men on and nobody out in the fifth, Cobb coaxed the double play ball. 4-6-3. Just missed. Oakland coming in leading in runs scored, leading in on base percentage, leading in slugging percentage. It did not go. 2-0. They were second in home runs. Comes back with a strike. It's 2-1. Into right field. Zobrist will go back to the wall. He's going to look up, and that one will get out of here. Crisp turns on a fastball and hits his 5th home run of the year. And it's 8-3.
Coco Crisp, you saw him in the double to lead this game off. And boy, he just has quick hands. And here it is, just a mistake pitch. Leaks back out over the plate. Crisp, look at that, barely any stride.
Low flying around 3rd. John Jaso. Good ball. To the knees. Cobb in the mid-90s now in pitch count. Two. Right side. Roberts. Rodriguez back to the bag at first. 7th inning stretch time. The Rays lead 8-3. Your Gulf Coast Honda dealers. Visit your Honda dealer for great lease and finance deals on fuel-efficient Hondas. And by Checkers. Feast on. An 8-3 ball game. The Rays on top, opening the homestand here at Tropicana Field. Rays happy to be back home. We're going to get a new pitcher out here for Oakland. With Shelley Duncan leading off. Pat Neshek out there.
If his buddies are here.
First pitch is strike. Shadrach, Neshek, and Abendigo.
Yeah. Always travel together.
And of course, they would be relievers brought in to put out the fire.
Right.
Yeah. Here he is.
And you'll be here all weekend.
High drive back into left. Plenty of room for Chris Young. And he's got it for the out. Sean Rodriguez due, and James Loney will come on to bat. Loney will get to hit against the right-handed sidewinder.
Joe Madden get James Loney and at bat here. James has been seeing the ball well, swinging the bat great.
Yeah, he's going to bring him in defensively anyway, and then get him an at bat here against this extreme right-hander. Hey, this worked last night against Darren O'Day in Baltimore.
He got that frisbee right out over the plate. That was a big home run, tying the ball game. End up very well.
1-1. Jamie Wright loosening in the Rays bullpen. The left field line, gonna be a foul ball. Some slice. Count is 1-2. Rays got 4 runs off Anderson and 4 runs off Scribner. 2 innings from Blevins tonight. No runs. Hurry up with that delivery. 2-2.
And then drop the changeup at 67. Try to fool you with the speed of the body, get everything started quick, slow down the pitch. A lot of conventional pitchers go to that slide step changeup. The same effect.
Anything to disrupt the timing.
That's it. I mean, that is the name of the game. And that's why, you know, going back to what you were saying about Alex Cobb and for that matter, Jeremy Hellickson, guys that pitch like that, work their pitches around the zone and changing speeds, all designed to disrupt the timing of a hitter.
Loney, let's see another pitch here with the count stuck at 2-2. Hit. So there you go, Loney off the bench delivering a single.
He just continues to see the ball well and swing the bat. You know, he's been getting his hits the other way. Hit that home run, of course, last night to right center field. Here he gets a ball in the inner half, is able to get the hands through, get a base hit out the right field. Right now, dangerous hitter because he is using the whole field.
Brian Roberts. The Rays have had base runners aboard in every inning except the 5th. They have 8 runs, 9 hits. Fly ball lifted toward the line and left. Young over there and makes the catch. That ball high enough to give Young time to get over there. He was a little circuitous on that route to begin with. And, you know, he's been in center field most of his time, and it is a little different look in left field.
Take a look at it. This ball hit high. Coming over to make the play. They're able to get one by him a little earlier. Shelley Duncan was able to burn him, the gapper.
Only back in at first. Jose Lobaton up here. So what kind of cuts Lobaton gets it? This side-arming right-hander. One strike, fastball, about 89. Lifts it to center. Crisp comes in. And the Rays get a hit, leave a man in the 7th, and lead 8-3.
Continue to lead the A's 8-3. A bobblehead everyone's rolling over for. This Sunday, kids 14 and under will get an Astro bobblehead presented by Dex Imaging while supplies last. The Rays will take on the A's as part of Family Fun Day presented by the Tampa Bay Times. For tickets, visit RaysBaseball.com.
Defensive changes for the Rays. James Loney stays on to play first after picking up a base hit as a pinch hitter. Sam Fold is in the game, taking over in left field from Kelly Johnson. Seth Smith will open the 8th against Alex Cobb. And that's a ball. Rays had Jamie Wright up in the bullpen, and Kyle Farnsworth has also started to throw. Fly ball back to center field. Jennings going to have to go to the track, and he makes the catch. Football continued to carry Jennings with a couple of extra steps there to get that ball on the warning track.
Now that ball off the bat, I did not think it was going to have that kind of carry. Watch Desmond just continue to go back. Track it. Gets a little tricky out there with the wall.
Nice backhand reach to get that one. Appreciated by Alex Cobb. Well, Jed Lowry up here, and this will be the 100th pitch of the night, and it's a strike at the knees. Line drive, that's up the right side, just fair, beyond the bullpen. Zobrist digs it out. It's a double for Lowry. How about Lowry tonight? A single and a run batted into the first, a bunt single in the fourth, a single in the sixth, and now a double in the eighth. And with this double up the right field line, Joe Madden comes out to make a pitching change. That's going to be it. Metro PCS call to the bullpen. Cobb departs after 8 1/3. He got some help in the first on a great catch by Ben Zobrist, and you never know how a catch like that can change an evening. Well, it limited Oakland to just 2 runs in the first, and he took over from there.
Well, 4 of the first 5 reached base, 2 had scored, and then he really settled down, did a nice job of keeping the ball on the ground, got into a good rhythm, good mix of pitches. And tremendous outing for Alex Cobb, pitching here into the 8th inning. Just over 100 pitches.
Jamie Wright, the new Rays pitcher, and a big cut by Brandon Moss for strike 1. Wright starting him with a curveball. Wright pitched an inning plus in last night's game. One. Gives Wright the advantage in the count. A ball, 2 strikes. There's Resop down in the bullpen. The A's have utilized 4 pitchers tonight, getting just 1 inning from Brett Anderson, who left with a sprain of the right ankle. Bob Melvin, Kirk Young, pitching coach, dipping into the bullpen early tonight as a result. That's breaking ball, and it hits Moss.
Well, you wonder if that's going to affect the A's the rest of this series. ball.
Did it hit him?
I don't know. It certainly looked like Moss got that left foot out of there.
Right, wondered about that.
Yeah.
2 men on with 1 out. Joe Madden's going to change pitchers once again on a Metro PCS call to the bullpen.
For the 8th inning, and it's time now to check in on our AT Twitter poll once again. Who will win the American League West? Hashtag TB1 for this team, the A's. TB2 for the Rangers, TB3 for Seattle. Hashtag TB4 for the Angels, and hashtag TB5 for the Houston Astros. Tweet your votes to @SunSportsRays. We'll have the results in our Rays Live postgame show presented by Checkers. Also, BA will break down the performance by the Vero Beach kid Alex Cobb. We'll hear from Joe Madden with his press conference. Kelly Nash with all the interviews from the clubhouse. And Arestis and I hosting the postgame show for the first time in almost 2 weeks. Guys, back to you.
Kyle Farnsworth is the new pitcher for the Rays, making his 5th appearance. And he throws a strike to Chris Young. Runners first and second, 1 out. Farnsworth worked on the 13th in Boston, 2/3 of an inning against the Red Sox. It's 1-1 now. Fernando Rodney loosening in the bullpen.
You want to take any chances? I mean, Oakland has 2 runners aboard here. So you can hit the ball out of the ballpark.
And the pitch skied to left center, and Jennings is there. Higher than it was deep, 2 gone. Yankees have beaten the Blue Jays 9-4. Vernon Wells hit his 4th home run of that game. Overbay hit number 2, and Hafner his 5th. Bautista and Aaron Sebia home runs for the Blue Jays in a losing cause. Number 4 for Bautista, 6 now for J.P. Aaron Sebia. And the Orioles and the Dodgers postponed in Baltimore. Josh Reddick at the plate. Reddick on the ground to second. Roberts will step on the bag. We go into the bottom of the 8th, 8-3 Rays. Rays have built this 8-3 lead, opening the series here against Oakland. First of a 3-game series against them. And game 1 of a 6-game homestand.
Well, this is the kind of game that it continues to, the score holds and the Rays win this ball game. Joe Madden going to be very pleased after falling down early, rebounding in the bottom of the first, taking the lead, and then getting those tack-on runs that he speaks about so often, continuing to add on, lengthen that lead.
First Resop, the new pitcher. And the first pitch to Escobar is low. 9th appearance for Resop. Over the outside edge. Escobar.
You wonder how this changes the plans for Bob Melvin over the course of this series. You know, anytime you're facing a team, you want to get into the bullpen early in the series. And obviously, unfortunate with Brett Anderson and the sprained ankle, but at this point, the bullpen will have to have eaten out at least 7 innings. How he's going to go about using them? Are they going to make a move with Brett Anderson?
This one is down. 3 balls, 2 strikes. Base hit through the hole. Escobar's aboard. Hit the ball hard that time to lead off the 8th against Resop.
Middle in. Escobar get the head out. Shoot that ball to left field.
Now Desmond Jennings.
Is this what is it, 8th or 9th at bat tonight?
It's the 5th plate appearance, but the first time he hasn't led off. He's led off 4 times tonight. And he's gotten on base a couple times and scored 2 runs. So he's doing his job. And running down some fly balls in center field. He scored 4 off Anderson and 4 off Scribner. This is the 5th Oakland pitcher of the night. Resop, 30 years old. He's out of Naples, Florida. He's down the coast a bit. Tapper, foul. It's 2-1. Spent the last few years over in the National League with Pittsburgh. Got to the big leagues originally with the Marlins. Had a stop in Atlanta and Pittsburgh. And on the outside edge, strike 2. The Twins and the White Sox were postponed in Chicago tonight. Cold, not rain, cold.
You don't hear that one very often.
Dodgers and the Orioles in Baltimore rained out. And a full count. 3 times Desmond has gone to 3-2. Sam Fold is on deck. Ground ball, shortstop, Lowry, Sogard, and over to first. So they erase Escobar on the double play. 6-4-3. 2 gone with the bases empty.
Well, Rays Baseball at Tropicana Field is the perfect place to host your group event. Whether you're getting a group of friends together or entertaining your clients and employees, Tropicana Field is the place to be. For more information, visit raysbaseball.com or call 855-GROUP-TB.
Sam Fold. Strike the count to Sam. He's quickly behind in the count. Making contact, lines it the other way. Yankees beat the Blue Jays 9-4. As we mentioned, those home runs in that game earlier. Andy Pettitte is 3-0, and his earned run average just a little over 2. We're watching the game in style down there. Morrow, the loser, he's 0-2 with a .557 earned run mark. One ball, 2 strikes. And in an abbreviated game because of rain, the Phillies beat the Cardinals 8-2, and Roy Halladay got his 2nd win of the year, and that he's 2-2. Strike 3 call to Fold at the knees, and the Rays are out in the 8th. On to the 9th we go. 8-3 Rays.
Authority of the Tampa Bay Rays that may not be reproduced or retransmitted in any form. The accounts and descriptions of this game may not be disseminated without the express written consent of the Tampa Bay Rays.
On to the 9th inning with the Rays leading 8-3. The 8 and 9 spots due up, and then the top of the order, which would mean Donaldson, Sogard, and Crisp. Farnsworth delivers, and that's a strike. Farnsworth got credit for 2/3 of an inning in the 8th. It's a base hit headed toward right center. Donaldson's second hit tonight.
That ball moving away from Donaldson. Farnsworth did a nice job of keeping that ball down. Donaldson did a better job of staying on it and shooting it into right field. There we go.
Well, Madden out of the dugout. Fernando Rodney was up in the bullpen as this inning started, and so he's going to get the call. A Metro PCS call to the bullpen means Fernando Rodney enters the game.
Joe Madden has summoned Fernando Rodney to protect this Rays lead. Well, Fox Saturday Baseball returns tomorrow with 3 great matchups. As Triple Crown winner Miguel Cabrera and the Tigers take on Mike Trout and the Angels, or the Nationals battle the Mets in New York, or the Minnesota Twins take on the Chicago White Sox. Fox Saturday Baseball, presented by Chevrolet, returns tomorrow at 2:30 p.m. Eastern.
Just for the record, that postponement because of cold weather at U.S. Cellular, the first since April of 08. They have light snow and it's 36 degrees at the moment. Fernando Rodney on the hill. First pitch to Eric Sogard is upstairs.
Oh, there's some leeway there too. Going to play each other an awful lot this summer.
Those two teams, same division.
Two 2-0.
You know, if that was the Rays' only trip in, we'd be on the field right now.
Oh, yeah.
And I'd be completely underdressed.
Oh, you pull out last night's jeans. Never underdressed wearing those. 2-1. Rays have been out hit 11-10, but they lead 8-3. Three and one now. Coco Crisp on deck. Rodney finds the zone, runs the count to 3-2. From Rodney, and he walked him. He lost him. So the first 2 men are aboard in the 9th inning for Oakland, and we'll swing around to the top side of the batting order with Coco Crisp coming up. Well, the outings for Rodney this year, the opportunities for outings, have been uneven.
Yes.
It's been a little strange with the way the Rays have gotten off to this start, and to find opportunities for him to really get it going.
Well, that's something that Joe Madden was concerned about coming off the WBC. Was he overworked, and would he be sharp enough for the season? Well, once the season has started, he hasn't been able to use them.
And so this, on most nights, would not be a night when you would use him.
No. I mean, a leadoff single with a 5-run lead in the 9th inning, and trying to find him some work in meaningful situations. And right now, any win for the Rays is meaningful.
Yep. 1-1 to Crisp.
This may not be a save per se by rule, but you got to make sure you win this game.
Well, you can see the last 3 appearances for him, and you're right. They're big. They're important. Absolutely. But for what Rodney is used to being in, coming off last year, it's still a little different. There is an adrenaline factor. There's always a competitive factor there. You're always going to compete, but situations are different.
Yeah, you got to try to find some way to manufacture that, because at the end of the day, your job is to come and get a couple outs. But it is difficult. It's not just Fernando Rodney. It's any closer across the board. They always seem to struggle in non-save situations. Always.
They'll come in that situation, put a couple guys on base, then the juices start to flow.
Yeah. That's why, like I say, you've got to find a way to try to, as best you can, manufacture.
And he's gone 3-2 on Crisp. Crisp laying off that changeup. John Jaso is on deck. Well, you need to get it out here. You don't want to load the bases with nobody out. You're just starting to flirt with your fate then.
Middle of the lineup coming up too.
And he walks Crisp. So back-to-back walks. And the bases are loaded with nobody out. And Jim Hickey trots to the mound. The postgame show coming up. Rays Live, the postgame, immediately following the coverage of this game. All of that presented by Checkers. Todd Callis will be driving that vehicle.
Keep it on the road, Todd.
He's pretty reliable in that regard.
He is. Very safe driver. This is the one area last year that Fernando Rodney did a great job of, is limiting the walks. Not giving the free pass extra opportunities. Only 15 walks on the season. 2 here back to back.
Now John Jaso. And a strike. There's 97 on the opening fastball. Close there. 97 again, rearing back.
Well, he's finally got himself in a spot. So now here it comes. 97. This ball with some late tail takes it off the plate. Very close.
A strike call. Threw a changeup for a strike.
Good pitch here by Rodney.
Rodney's 1-2. And Jaso's out on strikes, waving at the changeup. So a couple of 97s to start him, and then a couple changeups to finish it.
Yeah, and you've got to respect the 97, and then all of a sudden he can come in. Thing is, he was keeping these pitches for the most part, save the one fastball on the plate. You've got to respect 97, and you get low to mid 80s. You get swings just like that.
Seth Smith is up here. He's off to a good start, very hot start. And he misses the changeup. Again, respecting the 97.
Yeah, and what Fernando does with that changeup when he comes with that pitch, he has such good arm action. Now, there are times where he'll let that changeup fly, and it almost looks like he's humping up on a fastball. The ball just doesn't get there.
Another changeup low. It's 1-1.
I mean, that's the thing. The pitch range, 16 miles an hour, and basically it's the same pitch. It looks the same. Except one's 98, one's 82. Same spin, same arm action. Tough to read.
And did he go? He did on the appeal down to Ed Hickox. Hickox was no nonsense about that call at third. Yes. Rodney with the bases loaded. One out. This one low, bounding away from Lobaton, but no chance for a move from Donaldson, the runner at third.
Nice job by Lobaton to just sit down and let that ball just come right into him. Keep it in front, keep it within range. Goes down. Nice job that glove protected the 5-hole.
Two. Ground ball back to the mound. To the plate for one. To first for two. 1, 2, 3 on the double play. And the Rays are winners. Smith mounting into the double play. And the Rays win this one 8-3 to take game one of the series here from the Oakland A's. That comebacker and the resulting double play.
Right off the end of the bat, Fernando Rodney. Well, you know you got a chance to get out of it. Lobaton had to hurry up. That ball got feathered into him, but a nice turn. Great way to end this ball game.
So the Rays win it. Alex Cobb will be the winner and Anderson the loser. And as we promised earlier in the game, it's Miller time, brought to you by Miller Lite. The Rays fell behind 2-0, but came right back in the bottom of the first inning and scored 4. Ben Zobrist's base hit opened the scoring. That chased home Desmond Jennings. Sean Rodriguez with an RBI single tied it. And then with the bases loaded, Jose Lobaton singled in 2 runs. The first hit the Rays have had with the bases loaded this year. The Rays go on to win this one 8-3. Right now, let's go to the field and Todd Callis.
Hey, Dwayne, thank you so much. Ryan Roberts here. Ryan, last year, 143 games combined between the two teams. I know you're used to every day, and you knew your role would be a little different, but is it tough now getting those reps? You're glad to get in there today and get a shot in the first game of the home?
Oh, yeah, you're always glad to get in there. You know, it's we got a lot of good players. You know, we got a lot of depth on the bench, and, you know, if that's what the duty calls, then I adjust to that, and I'm gracious for my playing time. And, you know, when I get out there, play the game hard, and, you know, that's all I can do. But, you know, it's guys that are out there are good to go.
How big was that bottom of the first? Alex gives up the 2 in the top half. You guys are coming off a tough road trip to bounce back and get that 4 spot.
Oh, yeah, absolutely, man. We've caught some tough breaks on the road. Been tough pitches, tough calls. But, this team's going to keep grinding. We talk about it all the time, and, we're not going to give up. We're going to keep grinding. We're going to play hard, and, it's 162 games, so we know what happens in September here.
How have you guys been hanging in there? 5-10, I know it's early, but obviously not off to the start you want.
Oh, no, obviously you want to start off high. You want to win baseball games, but, like I said, there's a long season, and, the guys aren't giving up. Nobody's frowning upon anybody. Everybody's got confidence in everybody every day, so that's all we do is we go out there and we play hard and we pick each other up.
The magic of the shift worked today when you were right behind second base. That's got to be frustrating in the other dugout when you hit a bullet up the middle and you're right there.
Yeah, no doubt. And you know what? Foley's going to try to take credit for this, but we had a meeting before the game, and he was in it intensely. So, I give the credit to Foley this time. Nice job, Foley. Nice job.
All right, Ryan, thanks.
Thanks.
Tom Foley, guys, getting some credit for that shift. Back to you.
All right, Todd, thank you very much. Rays take the first game 8-3, and we'll be back in just a moment. There's the launch.